Oh, hey everybody. Just wanted to come on real quick to fulfill my New Year's resolution about watching something once a day, at least once a day, doing a podcast once a day, and also writing something once a day. This will be my second of three. And I wanted to come on here to talk about fantasy football for just a second. Now, I'm not going to talk about how I'm doing or anything like that. I'm actually about to win a league. I'm not going to finish third in another one, and I finished seventh in another. Actually, eighth. Didn't do so well in the NFL.com league, but there have been several times this year you've had NFL players who complained about the zealotry of certain fantasy football fanatics. Alliteration for the win. Ms. McSwain would be proud. And I'll explain that story one of these days. But anyhow, there's one that actually lied about his injury status. He said he was injured, and then voila, he wasn't injured. And it was sort of really ha-ha to the fantasy football fans. Here's the thing. This is a fantasy football league. Emphasis on fantasy. It does not have anything to do with reality. These players are playing to make themselves better. Sorry about that. And, God, I hate having that crud in my throat. No, I don't have COVID for the record. Just got something stuck in my throat. Anyhow, it's all about. This is not real. The players, what they're doing on the field is real. They're concerned about winning a championship. They're concerned about their own other things in their careers. They're not the least concerned about whether or not your fantasy football team does well. Case in point, Chris Carson of the Seattle Seahawks. He's been injured sometime this season. There were some fans who complained about the fact he was being held out, and he kind of was upset by it. I don't blame him. I've had him on my team all year. He was hurt. I got somebody to replace him, as you would do in normal football, and set him on the bench. Waited for him to get better, and he did. He's not had as good of a year as he'd hoped, but he's done well at times, and I've kept him on the team. I've started him a few times. This week I lucked up in my fantasy football league. You're not going to believe this. Somebody waived Derrick Henry, not realizing that the Titans had a game where they were fighting to get into the playoffs and to win the division, much less. So somebody waived the player, and I got Derrick Henry, and he has scored for me 34.6 points to go along with Jonathan Taylor putting up 36.7. That's the reason why I'm winning so far. And thank you, Lamar Jackson, for that 31.22, and Antonio Brown with 31.30. So yeah, I'm winning pretty handily in the Yahoo League, 173.02 to 103.30 against a guy who's lost one time this year. So yeah, I lucked up big time. The only one that didn't do so well is Mark Andrews, which he only was 4 for 7 for 7 targets for 27 yards. And the main reason for that was they basically ran the ball down the throats of the Bengals for like 400 some odd yards. So Mark Andrews, it's all cool. You're good to go. You've been good for me all year long. And, no problem. Everybody else picked up your slack. And we all everything's going to happen. You know, he's had some great years, great weeks this year. So he's helped bring this championship home to me. So all good, Mark, all good. But let's face it, this is fun, but I don't get upset if I lose. And it's like nice to win the league. I won a friend's league last year. He's not playing this year because The guys that were also playing in the league decided, for their own reasons, not to play fantasy football. A lot of that is because of this idea that how dare football players actually have political views and not stand for the anthem. My opinion, while I would rather they not stand, well, I would rather them stand for the anthem and protest in another way. I respect their views. I understand why they're doing that. And, it is what it is. And I'm not going to get upset that somebody decides to express a political viewpoint, because it's been going. If you know anything about sports history, you know politics has been a part of sports for a very long time. Just look up 1968 Summer Olympics. Look up Muhammad Ali. Look up other athletes as well. This is not exactly new. Okay. By the way, Saints have beaten the Panthers 33-7. Saints. I believe that gives the Saints the number 1 seed, if I'm not mistaken. Or does that put them in a position if Green Bay loses, they get the number 1 seed? I think Green Bay had the number 1 seed, which, let's see, Green Bay's up on Chicago 35-16 with a minute to go, so I think that means Green Bay will get the number 1 seed. Indy is up on Jacksonville 28-14. That'll put the Colts in the playoffs. Houston is leading the Titans 35-31. The Titans had the ball at the Houston 1, so they look like they may punch that in. Hopefully Derrick Henry gets the ball so I get some more points. Chargers up on the Chiefs in a game that the Chiefs don't really need. 38-21. Patrick Mahomes was not even playing. That's why he didn't play this week for me. Raiders and the Broncos tied at 27. Rams are up on the Cardinals 18-7 with 6 seconds to go. Rams will win that game. Seahawks over the Niners 26-16 with $1:49 to go. And Washington can win and get in the playoffs tonight if they beat Philadelphia. Buffalo defeated Miami, hammered them 56-26. The Bills, if anybody's going to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, I think the Bills are the team to do it. Ravens are looking good, 38-3 over the Bengals. But the problem with that is Lamar and company are running the ball a lot. What happens when they have to throw it? That's the big question. The Steelers lost to the Browns. The Browns get in the playoffs, and guess what? The Browns and Steelers play next week at Pittsburgh. And if I'm a Steeler fan, I'm kind of wondering, should we have not played our starters this week? Vikings over the Lions, 37-35. There's a controversial play in that game that will be talked about quite extensively. The Patriots over the Jets, 28-14. The Jets have the number 2 overall pick in the draft. The Jaguars have number 1. Cowboys lost to the Giants. That means the Giants can get in the playoffs if Washington loses tonight. Tampa Bay routs out Atlanta Falcons 44-27, putting that away. By the way, the final in Los Angeles, Rams 18, Cardinals 7. So, what does that mean for the playoffs? And let me get to the NFL. Standings-wise, playoff picture, Green Bay with a win will be the first round seed. The Saints will be hosting the Bears next week, so the Bears are going to get in, I believe. Seattle defeats the Rams. Seattle will face the Rams next week. And then if Washington wins tonight, the Buccaneers get in. And in the AFC right now, the Chiefs have the number 1 seed. They're going to have that. The Bills would face the Colts. The Steelers will face the Browns, and the Titans will face the Ravens. And the Miami Dolphins, unfortunately, will be shut out of the playoffs. And by the way, Derrick Henry got 2,000 yards today. Not today, but through the season. He is the 8th running back to reach that mark. So he has 2,000 yards this season. He needed 223 yards. He got them, and he has given me, if it'll come up, well, I still got 34.60. So he's done very well for me today. Jonathan Taylor, 37.9. So I'm going to win. Actually, it's not technically official. The only thing is the guy I'm facing is got Washington on defense, and you're not going to score that many points on defense. I'm leading him 174 to 113 right now. So even with a monster game, if Washington gets a ton of turnovers and takes them back to it, it's still not going to be. So I'm going to win that league. Yay, me! Okay. So, yeah. But get back to the point. Fantasy football is a wonderful thing if you keep it into moderation. I never pay to get in the fantasy leagues. I don't want to ever say never, but more than likely, the only way I'd ever pay is if it were like $5 or something like that, and it was relatively, just friends or something like that, not a big deal. Because there are people that pay a ton of money for this, and I'm like, this is fantasy football. These players, you got to get worked up over over somebody who is a game time decision, and they decide, now I'm not going to play today. It costs you, it's happened to me before. Tony Romo got hurt on a Monday night game. It cost me a win. I remember that because I was upset about it for like a few moments, and I realized, you know what, maybe it's not anything that important. And that kind of brought it home to me that, you need some perspective on this kind of stuff. So, yeah. Fantasy football is that. Fantasy football is a nice thing. It's a nice thing to do. I don't discourage you doing it. But keep it in perspective. It is not the end of the world. So, anyhow, oops, sorry for the burp. I just got through eating dinner. I should know not to do podcast after eating dinner, but I do it nonetheless because I want to get my stuff in, so to speak. What about the rest of the week? Well, my goal this year, as I mentioned before, is to do a podcast today, and probably sometime this week I will give you my playoff picks, probably sometime Wednesday or Thursday when I'm off work. And I'm thinking the Bills are the team that could very well spoil the party for Kansas City. I think they've got what it takes to upset the Chiefs in Kansas City. I'm not ready yet to pull that trigger because we got to see what the wild card round does. The Steelers and the Browns next week in Pittsburgh. Yeah. You never want to face a team twice, at the end of the season and then the very next week, because generally it doesn't do that well. Of course, next week, Big Ben will be back. They won't rest their players like they did today. The Steelers didn't really need this win. So, yeah. It's a nice thing to have to deal with when you are, when you're basically got it, the whole thing set. But I think that there's a good chance Cleveland could beat Pittsburgh next. Pittsburgh had a great undefeated run, but there were a lot of folks who considered them overrated. I kind of was hoping they would surprise everybody, be the team that did what Miami did, just because Big Ben, this may be his final year. I think it very well could be. And, it's... It has been a crazy, crazy day. Now, we'll have the prediction sometime this week, and it's been a crazy year. I mean, they got all the games in. They moved the games around and all that. They shifted around, but they managed to play every single game of the schedule, not canceling any, which is a near miracle. Whether or not that was very wise, only history will be able to tell. Now comes the tough part. Can they get through the playoffs? It would not surprise me if at the conference championships, or perhaps even as in the divisional playoffs, that they decide to go with a bubble. I'm almost certain that they'll do that for the Super Bowl. It's going to be weird this year. Media Day is going to be completely different. You're not going to have the kind of things you normally expect for a Super Bowl. There won't be the parties. There won't be the wall-to-wall coverage and all of that. And it's going to be a very modest crowd, if they even have a crowd. There's always a chance that DeSantis, the governor of Florida, may be forced to go, okay, I'm not going to continue to be a jerk. I'm actually going to listen to the experts. No people will be at the Super Bowl, which I doubt. There'll be some people there. It will not be a sellout, unfortunately. God, we need to get rid of this stuff. That is for another time. But that's basically it. And this is my personal blog about this. It's something I'm going to be doing every day, not just here, but on my other blogs, podcast. Yeah. Anyhow, that's it for now. Good night. Good luck. Yeah. What a way to end the holiday season. Getting my tongue tied. May the good news be yours. Bye.